High-stakes talks to decide the future of Nagorno-Karabakh are held in Azerbaijan, as Baku claims to control the region following this week's military offensive.
At least 2 people killed and dozens injured as Russia targets cities across Ukraine with cruise missiles and artillery.
Poland says it will stop sending its own arms to Ukraine as a bitter dispute over grain imports escalates further.
Scientific advances in treatment and diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease offer some hope for 55 million sufferers worldwide.
High-stakes talks to decide the future of Nagorno-Karabakh were held in Azerbaijan on Thursday. It follows a quick military offensive earlier this week by Baku, which now claims to fully control the region. Representatives of the Azeri government and ethnic Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh were present at the negotiating table. Azerbaijan's state news agency later confirmed the talks had ended but provided no details on their progress. Russia has maintained a peacekeeping mission in the region for the past 3 years and is overseeing the negotiations. It has also been responsible for evacuating some 5,000 civilians from the areas where the fighting took place, which left dozens dead and wounded. Russian soldiers were also killed during the Azeri army offensive. The president of Azerbaijan apologized to his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin, who in turn asked him to respect the rights of the Armenian minority. Meanwhile, in Armenia's capital, protesters demanded revenge, while their prime minister urged his country to take the path of peace, even if, quote, it is not easy.
The morning after a night of Russian bombardment, cities across Ukraine were targets. Kyiv came under fire, as did Cherkasy, south of the capital, where 10 were injured when a hotel was hit. As emergency workers toiled through the rubble, harsh words for the aggressor at the UN Security Council.
Ukraine is a crime scene, and the perpetrator is sitting in this very room. You know who you are. The Kremlin dreams of restoring the old Russian Empire. After Ukraine, who would be next? Who would be next to satisfy Putin's fantasy of the past?
Russian government pictures show mortars fired at its enemy's army by day, but in the night more than 40 cruise missiles and artillery pieces targeted civilians. 2 people died and 5 were injured in Kherson. According to Russia, Ukrainian drones attacked Crimea. Ukraine says it targeted a Russian airbase in the occupied territory.
Poland says it will no longer send its own arms to Ukraine as a bitter dispute over grain imports escalates further. The Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki says his country needs to focus on modernising its army and that the decision was not linked to the fallout over Ukrainian grain. The decision comes after a speech by Volodymyr Zelensky at the UN, in which the Ukrainian president said Poland and its neighbours were playing into Russia's hands by banning imports of his country's cereal. That provoked a furious response from Warsaw.
Te słowa o tym, jakoby państwa takie jak Polska miały wspierać Rosję, no jest to kompletnie niezgodne z rzeczywistością i to jest bardzo bolesne też dla wielu ludzi w Polsce, którzy osobiście pomagali, miliony ludzi pomagały Ukrainie, ukraińskim uchodźcom. Polskie państwo w ogromnym stopniu pomagało Ukrainie, cały czas pomagamy, więc takie słowa po prostu nie powinny padać.
Poland hosts around 1 million Ukrainian refugees and was among the first countries to offer significant supplies of tanks and other heavy weaponry. But relations have been strained over grain shipments from Ukraine, which have driven down prices for farmers in neighbouring countries. Ukraine's agricultural ministry on Thursday confirmed, however, that Kyiv and Warsaw have agreed to find a solution to the trade dispute. Kyiv and Slovakia earlier announced that the two nations had also reached an agreement.
Szanowni Państwo, z niedowierzaniem spoglądamy na kolejne informacje wychodzące na jaw w związku z aferą wizową rządu PiS. Polskie wizy, dokumenty uprawniające do wjazdu na teren naszego kraju, były sprzedawane w krajach Azji i Afryki.
Now, Poland's former deputy foreign minister and his associates are under investigation for corruption in connection to the issuing of such documents, and journalists say this is only the tip of the iceberg.
Ujawniliśmy cały system, który zbudowali współpracownicy wiceministra Wawrzyka. Wysyłane były listy konkretnych ludzi do konsulatów i do polskich ambasad w Azji i w Afryce i ci ludzie mieli dostawać wizy. Szczególnie patologiczny mechanizm dotyczył Indii. Tam wysyłali listy osób, które miały być ekipami filmowymi z Bollywood. Okazywało się, że oni nie mają nic wspólnego z przemysłem filmowym, że producent filmowy to był handlarz warzy, że aktor nie potrafił pokazać żadnego fragmentu swojego filmu. Chodziło zwłaszcza o wizy wielokrotne Schengen, dlatego że one umożliwiają wjazd do Meksyku, a z Meksyku jest już tylko krok do Stanów Zjednoczonych i tak wyglądał ten szlak przemytniczy. Mamy całą dokumentację, która dowodzi, że ten proceder miał miejsce, zresztą nikt nie przeczy, że on miał miejsce.
The ruling party has so far avoided answering questions about the so-called visa scandal, but there is a difference of opinions among officials concerning not if but how many visas were issued. Some people have already been detained. The first indications of irregularities in the issuing of visas were in July 2022. The allegations include invoking influence in a state institution and accepting financial benefits, acts which are punishable by up to 8 years of imprisonment. Organizations helping migrants and refugees in Poland, especially those rebunked by the government for assisting at the Belarusian border, are following the scandal with a large dose of bitterness.
Zastanawialiśmy się, dlaczego wnioski osób, którym pomagamy, wnioski o status uchodźcy, nie są przyjmowane. Te wiadomości, które ostatnio do nas dotarły o tym, jak zdobywa się polskie wizy, mam wrażenie, że wiele wyjaśniają. To po prostu pokazuje, że w Polsce te sprawy załatwia się inaczej.
The visa scandal in the government and the ruling party, whose election campaign is partly based on warnings against accepting migrants from Asia and Africa, could have a significant impact on the results of the upcoming elections. Magdalena Hodownik for Euronews from Warsaw.
On World Alzheimer's Day, scientists say they're making major advances in the battle against the degenerative brain disease which affects some 55 million people around the globe. Among the most recent developments, clinical trials of 2 drugs show the capacity to slow its growth. Donanemab and Leqembi attack a harmful protein that contributes to the build-up of plaques on the brain.
For the first time, we can see that Alzheimer's disease is no longer intractable. We have a very clear path to reducing the severity and slowing disease progression in Alzheimer's disease. So that's really encouraging for all of the other therapies that are sort of up and coming, is that we actually can do something to better this disease.
As the drug manufacturers seek regulatory approval in the US and UK, other researchers are trying to speed detection of symptoms using neuroimagery. Earlier diagnosis can make treatment more effective.
Some 1,500 people demonstrated on Wednesday against a new mandatory sex education course in Brussels. The controversial EVRAS program is intended to provide students aged 11 to 12 and 15 to 26 with sexual and relationship education. While EVRAS has been available for years, it was not compulsory until now. Since the Ministry of Education announced that the program would be mandatory, the decision has faced strong opposition from religious groups, both Catholics and Muslims. Olive oil prices have surged to new highs as severe droughts in major producing countries continue to shorten supplies. September's global prices have risen 130% compared to last year, driven by extremely dry weather in the Mediterranean. Spain, the world's largest producer and exporter of olive oil, has been one of the worst affected countries. Around 50,000 litres worth more than 420,000 euros were stolen from one of Spain's oil mills last month.
In Spain's central region of Castilla y León, one of the least populated areas in Europe, access to essential services can be a challenge. For instance, Josefa has booked a bus ride to travel 25 kilometres to her nearest health centre. No regular routes connect her village of 300 inhabitants with the main town of the district. But thanks to an on-demand transportation service, these rural communities are finding innovative ways to bridge the gap.
Pues funciona muy bien, yo estoy muy contenta. Luego nos vienen a recoger a las 11:30 y nos deja otra vez a Olivares. Yo estoy muy bien, siempre lo suelo coger para venir al centro de salud.
Customers can book their trip by phone or online, but these on-demand services are more than just a convenience. They are a lifeline for rural communities, ensuring that essential services remain accessible to all, no matter where they live.
En zonas despobladas como estas, el transporte público es esencial para que los ciudadanos tengan acceso a cosas tan básicas como retirar dinero de un cajero o incluso ir al supermercado.
Castilla y León has a population density of just 25 people per square metre. 90% of the population lives in towns smaller than 1,000 inhabitants. With fewer passengers and limited resources, the Regional Transport Authority has found a solution. Unlike traditional bus routes, on-demand services are provided by buses that take variable routes, avoiding unnecessary stops.
Podemos llegar a muchos más sitios con un coste más reducido y, por supuesto, para el medio ambiente, porque si no hacemos kilómetros innecesarios, las emisiones que emitimos son menores.
Teléfono gratuito, el horario para llamar.
The regional government implemented the service 18 years ago, and since then it has caught the attention of other regions in Spain and abroad, looking for more efficient means of transport.